first we have to talk about the sponsors.
Yes.
Akiva, who are today's sponsors? Shlomi Feintach, right?
Shlomi Feintach. I have actually. Shlomi sent me. Shlomi's we're raising. Where's
Yeah, wow, you're gonna charge me the premium rates.
Every time I do something, it's another extra.
I'm waiting for the bill at the end of the day.
Not only did I give you that I plugged you, but Shmuel Klein plugged you, right?
And
the roof plugged you on Friday. This is way more than a kiddush. Kiddush an hour and it's done.
You get a lot more covered on Zoom than you get in Zoom.
I told my son last night that I cannot compete with you, Akiva, because for $150 you barely get any herring. And here you're getting plugs and plugs.
And it's for perpetuity. You're on YouTube.
Oh, right. I didn't even think of that.
Right.
So when people look into your name for Shadichem, they'll search your name and they'll come up and you sponsor this and you sponsor that.
I'm gonna go change my shirt.
Here.
It's gonna cost you a lot more than $150. They see that.
Oh, Mati's unbelievable. the dry bones of this chabura. Here's a beautiful picture of the matzeva. I don't know if you could see it.
Oh, beautiful.
Right? Did your mother go yesterday?
Yeah, she said Nebuchadnezzar was packed.
You mean there are people there?
Levias, Nebuchadnezzar, a lot of Levias.
Yes.
David's uncle was buried there yesterday.
Yeah.
They were there at 10 o'clock.
Did they zoom it, David?
Yeah, they zoomed it. They had a minion. The guy was talking by the caver. I thought he was a Rebbe, the guy, the son. My goodness. He went on for at least 20, 25 minutes.
Really?
You have to understand there's no weddings now. There's no podiums. So Aruf gets a chance to talk. He has to, squeeze everything out of it.
Yeah.
They have limited funerals here for 30 minutes. And it starts counting, even if a family member comes late, the clock starts. And that the rabbi's not allowed to go overtime. And they're cutting down, and where staff is allowed to stay, and how apart they have to be. I don't know what you saw by the Levias. Were people standing close to one another?
I watched my cousins. They weren't far away.
Yeah, here they're mocked. You have to stand far away, even at a graveside.
David, this is your cousin in Muncie?
No, this one you guys don't know. You probably never. He's my father's youngest brother. Yeah, he was a maverick.
In what way?
He liked to talk. He would talk on these guys who talk on Trump and shul. You have some of these guys that they just, as soon as they walk into shul, it starts coming out of their mouth.
Yossi, stop smiling.
This guy was very into. He once told my father when he was doing hair, he told my father he invented a machine that will clean the fish to make the fish for herring. You just put it in one end and it comes out the other end all ready to go.
It's a Dr. Seuss.
He was one of these inventors in the air, in the Lithuanian. It was, he could schmooze, he could talk, he could this, that. He had only one son. He was single, he was divorced, so he was by himself. He had a tough life a little bit. He was an interesting guy. So
his wife is still alive?
His wife is still alive, but they've been apart for, I'd say, about 30 years, maybe at least.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he was really a bachelor. He used to, he'd be at the tables by my uncles in New York. My father's sister. He was a challenging guy. When you have opinions not only on Trump. The fish is too salty and the soup is too hot.
I never met a guy like that in my life.
Slimy, there goes your sponsorship.
Okay, Akeem, I'll pay more not to have this one recorded online.
So I'm actually planning to make. I'm trying to make a Zoom with my father, his two brothers, his three brothers, his three remaining brothers, and his sister. Because what's going to start flying, if I can get that thing going, is going to be once in a lifetime.
All right.
You can record that. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be
It would
great.
be, well, for the family, it would be amazing.
Well, it would go viral on YouTube.
No, this is I don't know, some of you guys
It
have
would
met
be in
someone-
Hungarian anyways, no?
Yeah. So we'll have to add
Yeah,
subtitles, which is I relish.
It'll be Schnitzel remade,
Right, Schnitzel and his
Dinner
brother.
game.
Yeah.
Nuchemke.
Kivo, it was very good last night, by the way.
Oh,
Shmuel
Baruch
Klein.
Hashem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
Shmuel
smart.
was
He's a smart guy.
great. It was great. It was really great.
I was just enjoying Shaw watching the clock tick away. That was,
I know, you saw him pick up his hand.
that
I was going to remove him. He does that
I
again.
love it.
I'm going to remove him from the room.
Very good. He's good.
Yeah,
So he's giving
very good.
Taylor out also?
Yeah. I think there's more. I wanted to ask him about. So Yossi and I discussed Holocaust education, because frankly, when I speak to my kids about the Holocaust, it's already a second or third generation. I didn't go through it. My father barely went through it. My uncle did. My uncle has a number, and the schools are spending a lot of time and a lot of energy in trying to remember it. And I don't know if it's because we want them to remember every detail of what went on in the Holocaust, or is it because that's what the secular Jews are doing, so we're counteracting that a little bit, right? For the secular, you ask a secular Jew about what was before the Holocaust, they'll tell you, and not a secular Jew, but a secular Israeli, what happened before 1948, they'll say tohu vavohu, right? There was no history before the Holocaust. That was it. The Holocaust started, and then we had to create the Medina. So to combat that, we also need Holocaust education. But I'm not saying not to Chas v'Sholem mention it. I have to discuss it. But what is it? It sounds like the Crusades. Yossi brought. Does the Crusade speak to you, Shlomi?
No, but I think I'm still close enough, and I think my kids are still close enough. I still have a grandma that's alive with numbers on her arm.
No question. I know. So on a personal and
I
familiar level,
don't think we're that far away that we can say it's ancient history.
I'm not saying, I don't know if it's ancient, but the impression that you're making upon them, I think, is becoming less and less. And I see it even among secular
It's just
Jews.
an element. It's just an element of education. I never had this discussion with you. It's an element of education. You can't just, Judaism is not just the Holocaust, right? It's gotta be
It isn't, but it's a
another
big
part.
deal. But it is a big deal. And I have to
part
tell
of-
you,
a
life
big
in the
part of who we are
shtetl,
today.
yeah, I know. Obviously we owe a ton of gratitude, separately from the gratitude, but to
Bring on Ruth Lichtenstein. She'll explain it to you.
Who is?
Ruth Lichtenstein from Hamadiyah.
Oh, she discusses
She's
this a
very
lot?
into. She's Project Witness.
Oh, that's her, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's very into it.
Okay. If you're okay with bringing women on the program, I'm all for breaking borders.
You're going to see the men always phone in. The women are going to go on video.
Well, even our speakers are phoning in.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all phoning in. Even the roof you don't get to see anymore.
So how come we don't have education week of, let's say, Tach V'Tat or the Crusaders, like you mentioned? And how come we don't have all that type of education stuff?
Because it's older history. I mean, we talk about the
So there's going to come a time. So there's going to come a time when it's going to become obsolete, the Holocaust.
Because there's video and audio, I don't think it'll ever be. If we had a video and audio from Tach V'Tat, I think it would be in the same realm. It's not. They don't have a Yom HaShoah where a day dedicated. We discussed Holocaust. It's part of the curriculum, but it's not. It's part of the projects, and they're showing all these videos, like you said, it's Project Witness to try to push people to remember it. And it's I don't know if it's already a law of diminishing returns, how much impressions we're making on it. I will hear what Shmuel Klein has to say. It was just a thought.
Everybody's seen Lucky first pull the Shaul Lannisfeld move.
What did he do?
We got our eyes on you, Lucky. Just watch the recording with you.
Okay.
I don't want you to throw me out.
So then we better get started.
Let's go.
We're getting those eyes.
Okay.
Does anybody remember where we finished off yesterday?
Mishnah.
The Mishnah.
Okay.
Mishnah.
Metaltal ner chadash.
Yep.
Okay. Metaltal ner chadash. You're allowed to carry a new ner. So a ner was a little cup made out of earthenware, made out of cheres. And we know once you put oil into it, it gets disgusting, and it becomes muksmachasmius, according to Reb Yehuda. Metaltal ner chadash, avalo yoshin. A brand new one that you never used, so you can still put other stuff into it. But once it was lit once and you poured oil into it, it becomes ichi, and it's muksmachasmius, and therefore it's muks on Shabbos. Reb Shimon,
Yossi, is that the one for that Shabbos that lit or any
Permanently.
Shabbos?
Permanently, because it's muksa machmasmius. You won't be able to, now it's no longer usable for anything else other than lighting in it. And lighting in it, by definition, is isser. So because of that, we call it muksa machmasmius, because even if you didn't light in it, you're not going to do anything else with it either.
Okay.
Wasn't it a klishim lachal isser before you lived with it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
So wasn't it a klishim lachal isser before you lived with it? And it's
Well,
new.
even if it's a klishum malach isser, but it's mutter l'tzarech gufo in a koima, you'd be allowed to use it.
Uh-huh.
Once it becomes moyus, now you can't use it for anything.
You can't move it either.
That's right.
That's the nafkamina.
Because it
The
becomes
klishim
moist.
lachal isser, you can move it if it's sarach makomo, but if it's muse, you can't move it even sarach makomo.
Correct. Reb Shimon Omer, Reb Shimon says he doesn't hold of muksa machos mius. So therefore he says, Kol haneris metaltalin chutz min haner hadoylek b'Shabbos. All neris can be moved around because he doesn't hold of muksa machos mius unless it's a ner that was actually lit that Shabbos, and then there's the isser because it was lit with that Shabbos. So it was muksa for Beresh Moshe, so it'll be muksa for the rest of Shabbos. Actually, Reb Shimon holds even if it lit any time during Shabbos, but usually if it was lit on Shabbos, it was lit before Shabbos. Tanu Rabban, metaltlin ner chadash. You're allowed to move a new ner on Shabbos, avalo yashin, but not an older. Tivir Reb Yehuda. Reb Meir Omer, kol haneris metaltlin, chutz min haner shehidliku boy b'Shabbos. Except for a ner that you actually lit this Shabbos. So you actually lit this ner this Shabbos, even after it goes out, it remains a muksa for the rest of Shabbos. Rabbi Shimon Omer, he has a bigger kula, and he says chutz min haner hadoylek b'Shabbos. Only a ner that's actually burning now. But kafsa, once the ner burns out, mutter l'tatla, even that's going to be mutter to be l'tatla. So Rabbi Shimon is even more mekel than Reb Meir. Aval kois uka'ira vasasis, but if you use a kois which has a much larger receptacle for oil, or kaira or a pan or a sasis or a big glass, these are all things that have a high capacity. Lo yazizim imkaimam, those are going to be muksa. Now the Gemara is going to soon explain who is talking by this line of al kois, and the Gemara will analyze it shortly. Rabbi Elazar Shimon, now the fourth shita is Rabbi Shimon Yochai's son. Rabbi Elazar Shimon said even more of a kula, and he said, "Mistapik min haner hakava." You're allowed to take oil and use it from a ner even before it went out, if it's going out. So that's a huge kula. Rashi's ner hakava is given the kava of a hoylech, since it's on its way out. Lo mechayiv sumu shemachaba. So he's saying you're actually allowed to take oil out of a lamp that's starting to flicker already, because we don't consider that you're being mechaba since it's actually in the progress of being put out by itself. So that's a huge chiddush. And he also holds umin Hashem and hamataftif. You're also allowed to use the oil that drips out of an active ner. You're allowed to use it. Va'afilu b'shah shaner doylek, even while the candle is lit. So again, that's a kula that we saw nobody else agrees with. Omer Abayim, Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, Sover lo kavu b'chada. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon holds like his father Reb Shimon in one way. Upolagala b'chada, and he argues with him in one way. Sover lo kavu b'chada. In what respect that he holds like his father is the less lemuksa? He doesn't have this din muksa machmas midas, and he's mekel and hilchos muksa. But he argues with his father because he adds an additional kula. His father held that while it's lit, it's muksa, you can't touch it, and only afterwards. The use of even though it hasn't went out yet, you can still take oil out of it, and it's not muksa. So that takes care of the four-way machlokes. Now the Gemara wants to analyze that extra line that was interjected after Reb Shimon said his shita of a koisu k'ayir v'asosas lo yizizim kaimen. Frag the Gemara, my shnohani, what's unique about these things that they should be asur? Now at this point, the Gemara assumes that Abba Koisu Ka'ayir is Reb Shimon Shita, because it's quoted right after Reb Shimon Shita. So Reb Shimon said, Chutz min ader hadoylek b'Shabbos, while the ner is burning, it's muksa. Kavsa, once it's burnt out, once it's extinguished, mutal talpla, you're allowed to move around in there, it's no longer muksa. Abba Koisu Ka'ayir v'Asosos, if you used one of these things as in there, even Reb Shimon will be moida that they're muksa. So Gemara, why should these be muksa even after they were extinguished, after they went out? If a regular ner, after it goes out, Reb Shimon holds becomes mutter. Amrula, seifa asan Reb Yehuda. In fact, these words, Avakosu Kaira, is not Reb Shimon talking. It's actually Reb Yehuda talking, who says that once it's in there, it's going to be muksa. And it's just another statement that Reb Yehuda made that all these things are muksa, which in and of itself is a little shver, because there's no special chiddush. Reb Yehuda holds, and there's muksa. But the Gemara anyway doesn't like this pshat. Because the Gemara asks the following question. If it's just adding on to Reb Yehuda's statement, then my aval, look what it says. It doesn't say koisu kair lo yizizim kaiman. It says aval. So aval is clearly going back on something else. And aval clearly indicates that we're commenting there was something that we said is mutter. However, this is usher. So that cannot be going back to Reb Yehuda, who holds everything is usher. Ella Amar Marzutra, Sok Marzutra Lo'ilim Reb Shimon. Really, this aval is really Reb Shimon talking, which makes the most sense, because that's when it was stated in the Brisa, right after the Brisa quoted Reb Shimon's shita. And it's going on Reb Shimon, and it's saying Reb Shimon is only matter and ner that went out. Reb Shimon b'ner zuta, a small little ner. He says it's not muksa. You know why? He died to Eluya. When you lit that ner before Shabbos, you knew it was going to go out in a little while. So you had in mind that this ner is going to be, you're going to use it. So you didn't put it out of your mind for Shabbos. But these kois and ka'ira and asosis is like a 7-day yahrzeit candle, or like a 24-hour yahrzeit candle. So when you lit it, you knew you're not going to be busy with this until Motzei Shabbos. So you put the whole thing out of your mind until Motzei Shabbos. So it's saying, according to Reb Shimon, if I put it aside because I assumed it was going to stay lit all Shabbos, even if it happened to have went out on Shabbos, since I had originally intended that it's going to light all Shabbos and I won't be able to touch it, it remains muksa all Shabbos. For Gemara, you cannot say that Reb Shimon holds that this asosis, this kois, this kaira, would be muksa all Shabbos. Because we have a brisa that says not like that. But Tanya, Moser Hashem and Shebener, Vishibek Kaira, and Kaira is one of the items listed above, Koisu Kaira Basosis. So you have a brisa specifically referring to Kaira is Aser, and Rabbi Shimon Matter. So you see Rabbi Shimon clearly is Matter even in the Kaira. And for the Gemara, not all Kairas are created equal. There's big Kairas and there's small Kairas. The brisa we're just quoting, the Rabbi Shimon's Matter, is being worth a small Kaira. Hasam Kaira Dumi Dener. When the brisa here mentions Kaira, it says Moser Shemen Shebener V'Shebekaira. So we're talking about a Kaira that's similar to a ner, meaning it's not going to burn very long. It has a small receptacle for oil, and therefore it's not muksa whole Shabbos. But Hacha.
I see. I'm sorry. Maybe you said it already, but can you just visually give me an idea of what the difference between Kaira and ner and the other one is?
And well, a ner is. We've seen pictures of it. It's a small little cheresh receptacle that you put oil into and you put a wick into.
It's not the one, it's not the, okay, go ahead.
Kaira is just a bowl. You could take a bowl out of your pantry, out of your dishes, but the main point of Cairo
Is that it's large.
is that it's
Like
large.
you-
That's right.
Is it like a
so
lad's web?
we hear this price that talks about adding, whereas before they were talking about taking away, I thought. Is there a difference?
No, we're talking about taking away. Moiser
Yes,
Hashem
moiser.
Kebaner means if you have extra oil, can you take it away? No, the fire went out and there's oil
Right.
remaining. Can you use it for your salad?
I wasn't talking that you're adding oil to while it's still lit. Obviously not.
No. So what Hazam Kaira doing in there? When Kaira is quoted in this brisa as a ner together with ner, we mean a small bowl, and in fact that's no different than a ner because you expect it to go out on Shabbos. But a hacha where the brisa quotes that Reb Shimon is machmer by a kois and Kaira and asosis, their Kaira is in line with kois and asosis, which are larger things, doing the kois, and it's a big Kaira. So a big Kaira, a person will be Mesiach Das for the whole Shabbos because he assumes it's going to stay lit all Shabbos, and therefore even according to Reb Shimon, it will be muksa. But a small Kaira is no different than there, and therefore it will not be muksa once the flame goes out. Omer B'Zeir, what about Pamoit? Now, a ner, according to Reb Yehuda, the reason why it's muksa forever is because it's mias. But a Pamoit is I think it's pronounced Pamoit. Let me see what, Pamoit, yeah. Rashi says a Pamoit is a menorah shel matches. It's made out of metal. And because of that, ve'ena meusa. It doesn't get disgusted because it doesn't absorb the oil and always stay gooey and greasy. You can wash it out, and then it'll be fresh. So therefore, it's not muksa machmas mias. So Omer B'Zeir, Pamoit shedliku by b'Shabbos. L'divrei hamatir, according to the man the Omer, who before in the Mishnah didn't hold of muksa machmas mias, who was Reb Shimon, Osir, it will be Osir. Because Reb Shimon holds a ner is Osir while it's lit because of the Isser. So it'll have muksa machmas Isser while it's lit. The different Osir, but according to Reb Yehuda, who only talks about muksa machmas mias and didn't express that he holds that there's an Isser by muksa machmas Isser, mutter, it would be mutter. So a metal menorah will be exactly the opposite of a cheres menorah. So, but that's assuming that Rabbi Yehuda does not hold of muksa machmas Isser. Now, Rabbi Yehuda didn't talk about muksa machmas Isser because the muksa machmas mias factor of a ner yashon makes it also. But Rabbi Yehuda didn't really explicitly discuss what he held about muksa machmas Isser. He just didn't talk about it at all because it wasn't relevant. So, Frek the Gemara, remember Rabbi Yehuda, muksa machmas mias islay and muksa machmas Isser, let's lie. Are you assuming that just because he didn't talk about it, he doesn't hold of such a muksa? Well, Tanya, we learned in the brisa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, kol haner shel matches metaltlin chutz min haner shedliku by b'Shabbos. So you clearly see that Rabbi Yehuda holds that even if it's not mias, the fact that you lit with it makes it also a whole Shabbos because we say muksa machmas Isser. So how could you, Reb Zeir, say that a metal menorah will swap the shitas of Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda? Elamai, you can't. If you want to make a comment about what Allah would be by Pamoit, this is what you would have to say. Omer B'Zeir, Pamoit shetliku olav b'Shabbos. Everyone holds it's Osir because both Reb Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda holds of muksa machmas Isser. Lo yidliku olav, if they didn't light with it that Shabbos, everybody holds it's mutter because Reb Shimon doesn't even hold of muksa machmas mias. So a menorah that wasn't lit with is always mutter. But even Rabbi Yehuda, who holds muksa machmas mias, by a metal menorah that wouldn't apply, and therefore it would be mutter. That's the
Yossi, I'm sorry. In the art school, it's not mentioning Reb Shimon. It's mentioning Reb Meir.
It's mentioning Reb Meir?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I apologize.
It's reference.
Because I'll tell you why. Because Reb Shimon holds, I should take it back. Reb Shimon holds that there's really no muksa machmas Isser either, only while it's actually burning. Reb Meir holds as a muksa machmas Isser, meaning since it was lit at the beginning of Shabbos, it's going to be usher for the rest of Shabbos. Mm-hmm. So that really was what muksa machmas Isser is. So in fact, who am I to say the art scroll is right? Of course the art scroll is right.
No, Yossi Rashi says it.
Rashi says it? Yes, l'divrei matter of Meir. So yes, that's right.
Big deal.
Now I'm really embarrassed. Forget the art scroll. Rashi says it. Finish. That's right. I look at Rashi. Okay. Zok the Helig Gemara Vater.
Rashi's a Rishon, right?
Rashi's a Rishon. Listen, Rashi was very well edited, but Judy Dick didn't edit Rashi. She edited the Art Scroll, so that's Judy Dick is like the all-time editor. There's a famous Shimshon Mastropoli. We knew he was a big goyin, and he wrote that parish on the Arizal's memoir that everyone says on Erev Pesach. He was a very, very tifa guy, and he decided that he wanted to write a parish on Chumash, just like Rashi did. And he started writing. And he started writing on the first pasuk, and again he honed it to make it perfect. And then when he finished his parish on the first pasuk of Bereshis, and it was perfect, he compared it to Rashi, and it was identical. And he says, you know what? I don't need to do this. Rashi did it already. They say that might about the Shimshon Mastropoli. Omer Reb Yehuda, Omer Rav, Mita. Now, you think that the Jews are the ones, they are for sure, but we think it's a new thing that if you have cash, you strip it under your mattress. We're going to see this was already done in the Gemara's time. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav, a person who worked for cash, and he needed to hide his cash somewhere. So Mita Sheyichta Lamois, if you have a bed in your house that you designated, that's the mattress that you're going to stuff with cash. Also, Lataltala, once you designated this bed as your bank, that bed now becomes muksa, because now that bed is a money cabinet.
But you're not allowed to touch it. You're not allowed to move it. Like
you're not allowed to move it. Muksa.
You're allowed to sleep on it. You're allowed to sleep on
it. If it doesn't move it, but usually it will move it. So you're probably not allowed to sleep on it. Muksa you're allowed to touch, but you're not allowed to move. If you lie in it, it moves it around a little bit. So that wouldn't be allowed. So that mattress in your house where you keep the cash.
Those days are long gone.
You walk into a guy's house and he has 2 kids and he's like 14 beds. He says, what's the 14 beds for? He said, beds aren't made to sleep in.
Fitlach 1990, what was it? Okay. Yes.
I was just thinking that I had a flashback.
So anyway, Mita, you have a bed that you designated to put your money there. Also, the bed now becomes muksa. Meisvei, effective more kasha. Meisvei Rab Nachman Yitzchak, metaltlin ner chodesh aval lo yosher. So we're talking about a mita. You didn't even put money into it. You designated. You said, I'm from now on going to use this bed to put money into. So effective Nachman Yitzchak, metaltlin ner chodesh aval lo yosher. Now a ner chodesh, you made it as a ner. That clearly you've designated it to use for lighting. And even without actually using it, it's not going to be muksa. So a bed, which is not even made specially for money, surely just designating it shouldn't be enough to give it a Shem money box and make a muksa. And that's what the Gemara's kashas with the Kal V'chomer. Uman ner, madach aner, the lahachi avida. What is the ner made for? It's made specifically for the purposes of lighting. So even if you actually didn't speak out, I'm designating it as a ner, it is a ner. Nevertheless, ki lo hidlik bo, if you have not yet lit with this ner, shori little tula. And Nachman Yitzchak said, you're allowed to carry it around. It's not muksa. So mita, the lav lahachi avida, a bed really is made to lie on. It's not made to store money in. It's a weird, that's a shver gemara. But a mita that's made not to put money in, it's made to lie on. Like Oskan, surely merely designating it, even verbally, as a money cabinet, surely shouldn't change its status and make it into a money cabinet. If you want to say a halacha regarding putting money under a mattress, this is the best halacha to say. Reb Yehuda Amar Rav, Reb Yehuda said in the name of Rav, Mita sheyichta lamois, a bed that you designated as money, and hiniach lamois, if you put money on it, and Rashi says, not necessarily on Shabbos, even if Tuesday night you had money on it, that formalizes its designation. And now this bed is no longer a bed. Now this bed is a bank. And because of that, even if there's no money on this or in this bed on Shabbos, nevertheless, also latalpia. Because the fact that you designated it as a bank and you actually acted upon it, you actually put money in it, and there was money in it at some time, this bed retains its designation, and it becomes a bank, and now it's not mutter to be metaltal on Shabbos. It's muksa.
So it's Asur Tzartam Koma also?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure if this. I'm not sure what the designation of this is. If it's a muksa machmas chasar and kiss, which I don't think it is, then you wouldn't be able to move it to tzarech gufa mekoyme. But if it's a klisha malachal iser, which likely it is, because it's a bed that has a malachas iser, it's made to store money, then it should be mutter to move the tzarech.
And then you should be able to sleep on it.
You're right. Maybe you're right. That's a very good point. So I guess you are allowed to sleep on it. You just can't. Listen, the truth is, if you have a mattress stuffed with cash, you can sleep better. So it's for sure mutter l'tzarech gufa.
It's usually under the bed that you sleep on.
You can sleep well. So you're right. And maybe it is mutter l'tzarech gufa. You're just not allowed to move it stomach.
Is this the same Reb Yehuda as the Machlokas on Amid Aleph?
Yes.
So
No, I'm sorry. This Reb Yehuda is an Amoira.
Right.
Reb Yehuda on Amid Aleph is a Tana. But we're using Reb Yehuda's Shita because Reb Yehuda was the one who said that you could be metaltal on their Chodesh and not on their Yoshim, even in the Mishnah.
Yeah, but his reason is because it's ruined. It becomes mias. How's your bed mias if there's no more money in it? I mean, is the bed really mias?
Well, I was thinking of that. I was actually struggling with that kasha yesterday. It's an excellent kasha. What's derived from there? There, the only muksa that we're talking about is muksa machmas mias, and if it wasn't used, then it's not mias. Here, it's because it was designated as a bed. But we also learned on Amud Aleph that Reb Yehuda also holds to the muksa machmas iser. So Reb Yehuda also holds that once something is designated to be in there, it'll have that other muksa of muksa machmas iser. And I think that's where we're bringing derived from, because if you only look at the mias part, you're 100% right. What the halal is the comparison from the bed to the there?
Some people look at money very dirty.
Well, it depends on where it comes from, I guess.
Maybe it's all your parents, maybe.
You know, there's a famous story with a Jewish accountant who worked for an Italian mafioso guy. And one day this Italian mafioso guy realized that there was like $500,000 of cash missing. So right away he wanted to approach his accountant. Now this mafioso guy spoke Italian, didn't speak English. So he took his lawyer with him, his Italian lawyer, and they approached his Jewish accountant. They go to his house, knock on the door, and the mafioso guy says in Italian, "I want my money." And the lawyer translates. So the accountant says, I don't know what you're talking about, sir. What money? I don't have any money. So then he translates back, and then the Italian guy says, "Listen here, I know you took $500,000 of mine. I'm happy right now. I'm calm. And if you give it to me now, we'll be okay. If not, I'm not very likable when I'm angry." Again, the Jewish accountant says, "I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's legit. I don't know what you're talking about." Now the mafioso guy gets angry. He pulls a gun out of his pocket. He puts it on the accountant's forehead, and he tells the lawyer, "Tell him that if he doesn't tell me where my money is, right now I'm going to blow his head off." That didn't need translation. So right away the Jewish accountant says, tell him I buried the cash underneath my front steps." So the Italian lawyer turns to the mafioso guy and says in perfect Italian, "He doesn't think you're going to do it." Okay, so that's another version of keeping cash under the mattress. What if you didn't put money on it? So even though you've designated the bed verbally as a place to keep money, but since you didn't actually put money on it, mutter l'taltala, that would not make the bed muksa. What if you never designated the bed to be a storage for money, but it happens to be yesh alamois, there was money on it. So if there's money on the bed, also l'taltala, it's also to move the bed. Ein alamois, if there's no money on the bed, mutter l'taltala, you're allowed to be metaltalit. The key is that the money wasn't on a bein hashmoshes, because we know there's a migu that Reb Yehuda holds of. Migu diskatzoy lebein hashmoshes. If something is muksa for all of bein hashmoshes, iskatzoy lechalayom, it becomes muksa for the whole Shabbos. So if there's money on the bed for the entire period of bein hashmoshes, that bed will be muksa all Shabbos. However, if there's no money on the bein hashmoshes, but money shows up on it sometime during the day, then the bed will be muksa for that period of time. And Reb Elephant went into a whole shayla lalacha. Well, what if you find cash in your pants pocket on Shabbos? So this actually goes in to this actually involved what we learned yesterday about the wagon wheel. Is your pants pocket part and parcel of your pants or not? And most people learn that it's not, and it would not make your pants muksa, and it'll be built into your pants. But klachayad, you're supposed to shake the money out. Omer Ula, Moshe of Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't learn the story about the wagon. That's right here. So let's learn that story, and then I'll say it over again. Omer Ula, Moshe of Rabbi Eliezer. So this takes us into another tour of Shas, and it involves a whole bunch of different things. So we learned a couple of blot ago that a large keli that can hold 40 saw of lach, which is like 40 saw of liquid, which we also said will hold 60 saw of solids because you could pile it up on top. And we learned that any keli can hold 1/3 more of solid material than it can hold of liquid. But we learned that any keli that can hold 40 saw is so big that it loses its status of a keli. And it could
40 to 60 is 50%, by the way.
It depends if it's milagav
Right.
or milabar. That's right. It's if you look at the initial amount, it's 50%. If you look at 60 kav, then it's 30% more than 40. Yeah. So it depends on your perspective. So if you have a keli that's more than 40 saw, you
better not be the accountant for that mafiosi guy.
So if you have a keli that can contain more than 40 saw of lach, it's not a keli anymore, and it's no longer makabel tuma. And we learned in the transmission in Klein, when you actually size up a keli, how much it can hold, you actually include in it the thickness of the wall of the keli. So what you really do is you take the whole keli, you put it into the water, and you see how much water it displaces. And if the keli, including its outer walls, displace 40 saw, it's too big and it's not called a keli anymore. And we learn it because when the Torah discusses Tumas Kalim, one of the Kalim that it discusses is a sack. And we know a sack can be carried both if it's empty and if it's full. So any vessel that can hold 40 saw, Chazal determined that cannot be carried. You cannot transport a keli that can actually hold 40 saw. And therefore, in those days they didn't have tanker trucks. And therefore it loses its Torah's keli and it will not be able to become tummy. So that's halacha number one. And our sugya here is discussing a coach, a horse-drawn coach, where the container, we'll call it, referring to a memory that I have from Cinderella, we'll look at the coach as a big pumpkin, because that's really where the shape of a coach. So if you have this big pumpkin, if it can displace 40 saw, it will not be a keli, will not be able to become tummy. Not only that, once it's over 40 saw, it has a din of its own oil. It's a sealed, pure environment. So if someone was in a coach and they rode over a basic forest, normally if you walk across a basic forest, we say that the tumah of the mess is bakas v'oila, goes straight up. So if you walk over a mace, you become tummy. But if you're in your own oil, then you become shielded from the tumah. So if you're riding in a coach, of which the coach can displace 40 saw, if you ride over a tumah, a caver, a mace, you will not become tummy. So let's see what it says over here. Muchani shalah. Muchani is the wheel of the wagon. So you have a coach, and the coach has 2 axles and 4 wheels. So muchani is one of the wagon wheels. So the wagon wheel, and we are trying to figure out, is the wagon wheel bottled to the coach, and is it part of the coach, or is it an independent item? So Zok the Bryce, Bisman Shahid Shmetas, if the wagon wheel is designed to come off, Ein Chiberla, we don't say that it's part and parcel of the coach. And therefore, Ve'enim Dedesima, when you're seeing whether or not this coach can displace 40 saw, you place just the chamber the passenger compartment of the coach into the water to see if it can displace the 40 saw. But you don't put the wheels with it because the wheels aren't considered part of the coach. And the same thing, if you have something, a keli, let's say your wheel has a receptacle in it that you could put something into. So imagine you have something in that wheel and you rode over an oil mace. People who are sitting in the coach, since the coach is more than 40 saw, they're protected, they don't become tamei. But something that was sitting in the receptacle on the wheel, since the wheel is a keli, and it is makabel tumah because the wheel itself does not displace 40 saw, so too anything in that wheel will become tamei. So far that's not relevant to our sugya. We're going to get soon to the part of the brisa that we want to make relevant to our sugya. And then there's the ein goyrin oisa b'Shabbos bisman sheyesh aleh mois. Now, what if there's money on this wagon wheel? Are you allowed to pull the wagon? Now let's analyze this. We know that if you have money on something, you have something muksa that's valuable, that's sitting on something. For instance, you have a tray and you have a ner sitting on the tray. The ner is muksa. Since it's sitting on the tray and the tray is a base for the ner, the tray becomes muksa as well. So the question over here is, when we know on Shabbos, if you want your tray not to be muksa, they say put something chashuv on the tray. That's important. And therefore we'll say that the tray is not a basis to the ner, which is aser. The tray will be a basis to the thing that's mutter, that's chashuv. Now over here, when you put money on the wheel, if you're putting it on the coach could become a basis. But if you put it on the wheel, then the wheel will become a basis for the money, and you're not allowed to move the wheel. So the halacha is, if the wheel is not considered part and parcel of the coach, then you wouldn't be allowed to pull the coach, because by doing that, you're moving the wheel, and the wheel became a basis to the money. But if the wheel was part and parcel of the coach, then that money on the wheel would be bottled to the coach, and you would say that you're allowed to pull it. So our point is since there's money on a wheel, on the wagon wheel, the wagon wheel becomes a basis to that money, and you're not allowed to move that wagon wheel on Shabbos. Now, the brisa states, if there's money right now on Shabbos on the wheel, I'm not allowed to move that wheel because that wheel is a basis to the money. But if right now at this point there's no money on the wheel, sure, then I'm allowed to move that wheel. The brisa doesn't discuss whether or not the money was on the ben hashmoshes. The brisa says it's only osir to move that wheel if there's actually money on the wheel right now. If there's no money on the wheel right now, I don't care what happened any time before, this will be mutter. So you clearly see that you don't say migu diskatzoi levein hashmoshes iskatzoi l'chalayim. And the fact that this brisa doesn't care whether or not there was money on this wheel ben hashmoshes, all the brisa cares about whether there's money on the wheel right now or not, shows us that this brisa holds that you don't say that just because something was muksa ben hashmoshes, it remains muksa all Shabbos.
Can we assume that it was on the whole time? Like, I mean, if it's there now, it was probably there the whole time?
No. But that's not the shaila here anyway. The shaila here is, the brisa says, if there's money here now, and we know it wasn't there before, it will be also. But if the brisa doesn't say, be careful, maybe something that was there before. And the fact that the brisa only is concerned with here and now shows us that there's no problem of migu diskatzah. So the problem is, we just learned a moment ago in this brisa that there's a svara of migu diskatzah for who shaloi hayala ben hashmoshes. Yet this brisa over here says that there is no problem with migu diskatzah. So that's a machlokes. And he Reb Shimoni, the less lumuksa. Reb Yehuda holds migu diskatzah leven hashmoshes. It's muksa all day, and that's what Reb Yehuda Marav was referring to. Was going according to Reb Yehuda. And this brisa that says there's no svara of migu diskatzah is following the shita of Reb Shimon, who doesn't have a muksa. The Rav, Reb Yehuda, and Rav, who was just quoted by Reb Yehuda, is going according to the Tana Reb Yehuda, who holds that you do say migu diskatzoi. We'll just do a couple more lines. Still, we just finished the end of the Indian. The Rav Reb Yehuda Shvirle, the Rav holds like Reb Yehuda, and is makbid on migu diskatzoi. The Omer Rav manichem ner al gabedekel b'Shabbos. Now we know you're not allowed to climb trees on Shabbos, so we don't want to put ourselves into a situation where we might be tempted to climb a tree. So Rav, on Shabbos you're allowed to put a ner. Before Shabbos you're allowed to place your ner on the dekel. And I'm not concerned that somebody might climb up this tree to get the ner down after it burns out. You know why? Because it's muksa whole Shabbos. But the ein manich ner al gabe dekel b'Yom Tov. But you're not allowed to set up a ner on Yom Tov on the dekel because a ner is not muksa on Yom Tov, and we're afraid somebody might climb the tree on Yom Tov, which is not allowed. Zok Gemara.
Why are you lighting a candle on a tree?
You're using the tree to put a candle on to light up the area. When you're camping, you want to put the light high so it radiates around. Or maybe you don't want kids to touch it. There could be different reasons why somebody would want to do that. So the Rav Reb Yehuda Shvirle, if Rav holds like Reb Yehuda and he holds that in there that you say migu diskatola ben eshmashus l'chol hayoyim, haini deshoni ben Shabbos liyom tov. That's why there would be a difference of Shabbos and Yom Tov. Eliyam Reb Shimon Shvirle, if he holds like Reb Shimon, mali Shabbos umali Yom Tov. According to Reb Shimon, once the ner goes out, anyway you're allowed to move it. So there shouldn't be a difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov. So that proves that Rav must hold like Reb Yehuda, that you say migu diskatzoy and you say neris or muks as well. The Rav Reb Yehuda Shvirla, are you actually saying the Rav holds like Reb Yehuda? The Rav, once upon a time, a shaila was presented to Rav. The Persians had a rule that no one's allowed to light private neris, only in the churches you were allowed to light. So what people used to do is they would light Chanukah candles for the 30, 40 minutes. They knew the route of the centuries, of the people that were enforcing the social distancing. They knew the route, so they would light their candle, and what they would do is, as soon as it would go out, they would light it at a time where they know that there's no sentry there. Then as soon as it would go out, they would quickly pack it away, so there would be no remnant of it. And Tosfos speaks out, I believe, that it was not a sakanas nefashos, because if it was a sakanas nefashos, we have the doctor screaming, you're not allowed to have a minion, it's a sakanas nefashos. There was only sakana, they would get a fine, or they would get beaten up. It wasn't a sakanas nefashos, and that's why they were brave enough to do that. So they asked him, could we bring our menorahs in after they go out, the Shabbat on Shabbos? He said, no problem, you could. Why? Because so for Gemara, and the fact that the Shabbat shows that he holds it's not muksa, meaning he doesn't hold like Reb Yehuda, and we want to say now that Rav holds like Reb Yehuda. So Gemara is just a tzchak shiny. There was a special allowance because it was a shas tzchak, it was a difficult time. Avad Rav would be machmer like Reb Yehuda. The only reason why over there he was Soymech on Reb Shimon is because it was a difficult time, it was a special need. The Omer Rav Kahana of Ashi Rav, they challenged Rav and they asked him, is that the halacha that you're allowed to move a menorah on Shabbos after it goes out? Rav responded, Kedayu Reb Shimon, Lismay Chalav, B'shas Hatchak. Reb Shimon argues in Reb Yehuda, we don't pass him like him, but he's still Reb Shimon ben Yochai, we can still rely on him when we're in a tight spot where we need to hide our menorahs after we light them. There we could be Soymech on Reb Shimon. So you see clearly that Rav bets and paskin like Reb Yehuda, that you hold of all the chumers of Muksa. Only in a tight spot was he willing to be maker like Reb Shimon. I guess we can stop here.
Are we up to date with the daf, or are we still behind?
Today's daf is Memhei.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to keep on trying to make yesterday we got the third or fourth line. Today we got to the eighth line. I'll try to push a little.